I was very excited about exploring this suburban dad, family, a guy who's very happy and content in his life and just working hard to hold it all together. And there's something simple about that I thought that I found challenging in a way of representing it without commenting on it, without condescending to it or sentimentalizing it, just presenting it and then finding the story in there. And it sort of quickly took shape for me.
The small town suburban lawyer who is struggling and makes a bad decision.
Yeah.
Now, even when he makes the bad decision, we're still rooting for him.
Yeah.
And even when Leo says, when they're coming out of court, did we win?
Yeah.
And then you see him, drive up to the nursing home.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel at that point for him. How did you feel about that?
I love that moment just because I think it is challenging to an audience, because I think parts as written and partially as performed, you can't help but kind of get behind Paul Giamatti and his character Mike Flaherty. And I think it's difficult when decent people make bad decisions in life, and how do we reconcile that? And I think by and large that's what's got us in this big mess that we're in right now. I don't think it's a bunch of evil people. I think it's people we know, people we respect, people in some cases we admire, but they do some foolish things when it comes to money. And I think this sort of starts to delve into that a little bit. Yeah, Paul and I have talked a lot about that, and he said even the experience for him, it was almost like he put it, compartmentalized it a bit, put it somewhere in his mind where he didn't have to think about it. And occasionally it would poke itself through and he would push it down. I think, isn't that what we all do with bad decisions and bad choices in life? We think, you can't live with it every day, and you have to find a way to move beyond it. And I think he does to some extent, and quite honestly, understandably, a lot of good things come out of his bad deed until there's a price to pay, and then he has to do just that. As soon as I realized that wrestling was going to be a major storyline in the film, I love sports. I'm a big sports junkie, and I can't stand when I see a movie and I just don't believe. I don't care how good the actor is. If I don't believe he can throw a ball, or I don't believe he can, do anything, it just drives me nuts.
What's the worst sports performance? And I have one. I think Charlie Sheen trying to throw a fastball, probably. And we're all dumping on Charlie Sheen these days. I'm sorry.
God,
it just came to me when he was on the mound. I never for a moment believed he was a pitcher.
So many of those, did you believe Robbie Benson could be a basketball player? And go back and look at the other wrestling movie, which is kind of like a classic movie, so I tread on dangerous ground here, but Vision Quest. And it's a little bit, for high school wrestling, it's a little bit intense, and some of the moves are a little bit suspect.
We can all go back to Garp, too.
Yeah, Garp, yeah. But Vision Quest, because it's such an iconic wrestling film, you kind of look back, and even Alex was like, Vision Quest didn't know what they were doing. I'm like, look at you, but he's a state champion, so when it comes to wrestling, we got to pay attention to what he says.
So state champion and a kid from New Jersey playing a kid from Ohio, but what about getting him to internalize the character, to become this character?
Weirdly, it's just one of those things with young actors, and I say young can be any age. The fact is he was like a blank slate, so he hadn't learned a lot of bad habits, so it was almost easier for me to work with him in some regard. And just, he worked very closely with a collaborator of mine, Jackie Brogan, who's an acting coach, and we just paid close attention and kind of let him grow at his own rate, and we tried to keep the spirit on the set very light and playful, play being the key word. We all pretend, we all act as kids, and this was just pretending, and it's sort of putting him in that thing that if you just pretend, if you just kind of get inside the character, ultimately that is what acting's about. It becomes something more as we grow older, and it becomes a craft, but at the heart of it, that's it. We just forget how to do that along the way, many of us, because we become grown-ups. Most actors, it's all about keeping the child alive inside, and so when you have a child, you have a young man, that's more accessible to him.
By the way, when you were a wrestler in high school, did you have your coach slap you upside the head before you went in there?
That's where that came from.
Really?
Vic Picosi, before every match, big old smack across the head, drove me nuts. Drove me nuts.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was actually one of our stunt wrestling coordinators on the film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we brought a coach in. His brother, Pete Picosi, is a big stunt coordinator in New York, and I said, get me Pete, and Pete came with Vic, and we knew we were in good hands, and they worked not only with the wrestlers, but also with the coaches. You know, you'd say this, you'd say that, you wouldn't do this, you wouldn't do that. Great, you know, it was a team effort. Like, it's the funny thing about this movie, right? You have this family drama comedy, you have this sports movie, and then you also have this buddy movie. It's like we're kind of playing with these different genres in a small way, and that was really fun to explore. And I think Joe and I drew a lot on Mike, and drew a lot on our relationship to kind of get at Mike and Terry and trade it off in terms of traits of each other and that. And I just love writing for both those actors, and seeing Paul and Bobby, who'd never really worked together, play off each other. It was a lot of fun.
People love this movie.
Cool.
You know.
It's been excited to hear them kind of respond to it.
Yeah,
it's a good thing.
The buzz is terrific. Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate your time.
No, my pleasure.